Uncles on the floor right now. Aunties on the floor right now.
You know, that's an amazing story, just overall what you shared, because everyone on that journey goes through this, what you just gone through or what you have gone through, right? And I gone through it as well, understanding the affiliate or the multi-level marketing platform, right? I've always thought that though people frown on that space, it is one of the greatest space there is in life. Now, why? Before I go into that answer for you, why is it one of the greatest? Because it is the concept of, people might think it's hard to keep you keep what you kill, right? It is how our founding fathers dealt with finding the United States of America, right? You go out and you have to put in the work, and when you put in the work, then you get the reward. You understand? Mm-hmm. And then when you do that, you now have a blueprint to show others. So now you create duplication, and that duplication will allow someone else to do the same thing. So I think people don't understand when they look at the USA, it's called these United States because it's the states, the colonies united to become where we are, right? Does that make sense? So now to go into your answer is, I was like Lael at one point, right? It was a matter of, that's who I am. Beige understood it, but she was actually on the opposite side. You get me? She was like, so I was, I was trying to force what I see for them upon them when they don't see it. Right? And they say a mentor will see some things, but then you as the mentee have to see and feel that way as well, right? There need to be a connection, right? And so I was on the Lael side in my early time of, well, wow, I want to bring everyone, I can't leave them behind. And I realized suddenly and quickly, and if you call a few years quickly, right? Because I kept pushing. And because I had Beige on one side saying, you're taking a little too long. You're spending all this time. Because here's what I did. I spent more time convincing them, bringing them in, because they loved what they were hearing and how we talked for that time. They came in, but then guess what happened? They quit not too long after, a month later, whatever it was. And I'm distraught. Oh my God, why? Oh my gosh, why would they do this? But don't they see the potential, right? So I've gone through that process. And at this juncture in my life, I understand the position of Lael, and I bring it in the forefront in the beginning with an individual, but I make sure that they understand this is where we are. And if you do not see the value since you came to me, then we got to keep moving, right? So now I am on the opposite side, if that makes sense.
So you're more like a Kevin.
Yes, I'm more like a Kevin now. Yes, ma'am.
You're more like a Kevin.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. It took some time to get there, right? Because I'm always figuring, no, let's bring them along. And because that's my personality, to try to help everyone. But I've learned that if they can't see, right, where you're trying to take them, and they're not willing to, then they will only pull you down, because you got to get there first to be able to bring them, if that makes sense.
It does.
Yes,
do you
ma'am.
mind if I talk to you about a color thing? Are you okay with that?
I mean, yes, absolutely.
Okay. I appreciate you giving me some permission. I was coaching a man, what's today, Thursday?
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
A really good looking, successful African-American man. And he was sharing with me that he allowed a car to be repossessed because it was a beautiful car.
Mm-hmm.
It was a really, really nice car. This is years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, what allowed you to let someone take it? And he said, well, I just didn't want to talk to anybody about it. I said, well, why not? He said, in my culture, he said, especially Black men, we don't talk about financial problems. And I said, well, why is that? He said, I was too embarrassed. I didn't know what to say. I didn't want to talk to my dad because my dad thought I had it all going on. My friends thought I had it going on. He said, and then one day he came out, his car was gone. How do you, because what I notice about you, you got a lot of humility, and you're willing to talk about some times in your life that didn't go so well. But I think that's different because I have many Black men that I work with. You're different in that regard, that you're willing to share your stories about financial hardships, losing everything, walking away. Why can you do that and so many others? Is it a cultural thing? I'm really genuinely curious that men don't want to talk about financial hardship. And why is it that you're okay talking about that? Because I like that about you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But to answer what you just said, in my opinion, culture and race is two different things. I think people get caught in that space too often, right? So I don't think it is a race thing. It is a culture thing. And culture represents whether you are light skin, brown skin, mulatto, blue, green. It's the culture, meaning the atmosphere in which someone was brought up, the information that was passed down upon them that allowed them to suppress certain things that has happened in their environment. And that goes through every human being that is on this planet. So when I hear that, I always, one of the teachings I've always give to my daughter and my son, I always tell them, say, listen, don't you ever get caught in the position of worrying about whether it's a light skin or a brown skin or whatever thing. Understand that you're an individual. You're a human being, right? And that is what you should stand for. Now, your environment, a lot of the times, can dictate who you are, but not who you can become. See, a lot of times we're stuck on, wow, things are so bad. So when you get to the place of where statistics have shown, well, wow, these individuals, why do they suffer with this, right? I find if they interview enough people, they will find that it's a culture thing, and culture not representing a race, but representing individuals who has gone through this process, right? And when you start talking about the brown skin race, and that's just how I talk. I don't do the, I don't think you're white. White is not, this is white. This is white. Let's be clear about it, right? So I find that people, they have it wrong, right? So I just feel like it's not something that I should address in terms of, oh, well, you're white, I'm Black, I'm this. Listen, here's the thing, you're a human being. So let's talk about that culture, that behavioral pattern. That comes from that environment to where these men feel that they have to be so strong, their concept of what strong is, to not actually share the information or the turmoil that they're feeling, the love that they're feeling. They don't share it. They don't express it. So with everything happening, it's boggled down and held on to. So now no one can help you if you do not share information. You don't know how you can be helped. So it's been so prevalent in these inner cities, whether the culture is of Latino, whether the culture is of Caucasian, whether the culture is of African American, right? It happens because of that mindset and what has been put on them based on the environment that they have been brought up in. That would be the answer that I will give you.
That's a really powerful answer. And you know, Boston, I think you could do a really powerful talk on that.
Awesome. I appreciate that.
I really do. My
Wow.
dad was a dermatologic surgeon, and he was a German immigrant raised exceptionally poor.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up, my mom was an alcoholic, and my father used to spank her when the checks would bounce. I was terrified when we didn't have enough. We lived in a huge house, it was a block long, but they were broke. And my father never shared anything that was going on with anyone. We finally got a family therapist, but when he died, a few years before he died, my mother said that they didn't have any money, that they were broke. And I'm like, how can that be that you're broke? And I flew a financial advisor in to meet with my father. My mother called me. Now, I was sending them money, if you can believe this, sending them money, flying a financial advisor in. And my mother called me. She goes, oh my God, I still remember it. We're millionaires. I said, Mom, how did you not know? And she said, well, your father was paying triple mortgage payments. He had $1 million chair because he wanted to have his name at the hospital. He had 3 or 4 insurance policies because his mental mindset was, I will never be broke again. He didn't feel safe when it came to money because his father was so poor. We never had a worker in our house doing the electricity, or we had a person that would clean once a week. But other than that, us kids mowed the yard. Us kids raked the leaves. We painted that house, weekend after weekend. And I remember just thinking, how can someone not know their financial status? And you talk about that. You have a topic that you deal with. You're talking about dealing with financial pressures. And my father never learned how to deal with financial pressures. He would become violent and in a rage when there wasn't enough at times. How do you suggest that people learn to become resilient to the financial ups and downs financially in life?
Well, look at the age we're in right now. We're in such a technological age, an information age, right? People like yourself and I, who might be middle-aged, right? We have knowledge of it and we can become really good, but the youths of today have even more skill in this technological space, right? And information is available for everyone. Your choices is what makes you or break you, right? The information is here. So for one, I would say you need to seek the information, right? When you pick these things up, right? If you don't watch television, we don't watch television, right? I haven't watched TV in about maybe 10 years, my wife about 15, right? But when you pick these things up, you got about 16 pages open when you go to Instagram or these different things, or 16 screens. So you're seeing all these different things, but it's still a matter of the choices that you make. So someone getting financially savvy, it's a matter of, one, I always say to people, you have to be ready for the change. What change are you seeking? Because have you been hit hard enough to now say, well, look, things are too rough. I need something better. And if you are professing and feeling that you need something better, what happens is that in our negative moment, in our wanting moment, the things that we are negatively constantly screaming of come into our physical. The things that we are professing that we need to change come into our physical. It's just the laws, right? You will start finding that, well, give you an example. I want this car, I want this car, I want this car. But guess what? Now you start seeing more of those cars, right? So when you're talking about financial, I say financial literacy, I say that we have to get into the receiving mode. The receiving mode to say, well, look, I want to create this change. I want this in my life. I want to be better at knowing how to manage my money or manage my paycheck, manage my books a lot better. And then those things are going to start showing up for you. Now, people may say, what do you mean? How does those things show up for you? Well, conversations may come about, hey, have you checked out this channel? Information is free on YouTube. We call it YouTube Academy, right? Information is free. Now, you may not get everything down to the T, but what happens is that the information, it's free, that you can literally say, okay, instead of me looking at something that's going to make me laugh right now, I want to look at something that will allow me to absorb proper information that can take me to another level. So again, as I started, it's based on your choice. Right? Your choices are going to make or break you. What are the choices in terms of you?